What is going on, YouTube people? Northeast Ohio Cards and Comics here. Today to talk a little NBA darlings. We hint at this all the time. We talk about them all the time. I am putting together the definitive list of NBA hobby darlings. These are the players that, and they vary on the spectrum, but some are not just straight up very good. But if they do anything in a preseason summer league scrimmage shirts versus skins game, their price is 5x overnight. Before we dig in, like, comment, subscribe. This is going to be kind of just a quick, lighthearted kind of video. I just kind of want to have a little bit of fun with this. I have 7, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys. 7 guys I am putting down as the definitive list. These are not in any particular order, I guess, other than the last couple are definitely the kings of the court. So who are these guys? You know, I kind of laid it out with the prices popping up with these guys doing nothing. These are like your mid to late first round picks. I'm going to call them your pet projects. These are the guys that in their rookie year you would take in the next to the last round of your NBA 2K My League fantasy draft and bring them along and dump all your potential points into them and eventually get them up to superstar level players. It's those type fantasy darlings. A lot of these guys would probably show up on a fantasy sleeper list. I have laying not necessarily ground rules, but they have to be in the last couple years draft class. And I have a list of guys. I'm going to call these previous members of the list that have graduated both ways. Sometimes these guys come out and turn into superstar or near superstar level players, and sometimes they turn into nothingness. Some graduates, so these are guys that will not be appearing on this list. I have deemed them as graduating off this list in a good way. We'll go with the positives first. Tyler Hero. He would be the poster child of this list in his rookie season. I'm taking him off this list now because he's kind of established himself in the NBA. Michael Porter Jr., huge poster child on this list. Everyone loved buying up MPJ. He missed almost the entire season with his back. He had those couple good games when the NBA first came back after the lockout or the shutdown. And his prices just went nuts. Now, he is 100% beyond this list now. He is a max level player. He just signed a max deal. And then last but not least is SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Very similar vein. He's a max level player now, but he was a poster child for this list. Some guys that have fallen off. Some of these guys could still be hanging on a little bit, but I just didn't deem them enough to make the list. The biggest washout, in my opinion, is Anthony Simons. The hobby loved Anthony Simons. Anytime Damian Lillard or McCollum would get hurt, people would flock to post their Anthony Simons cards, and he would never do anything with the opportunity. I still get Simons questions. Kobe White is another one. Maybe he pops off, maybe he doesn't. I don't know. Sekou Doumbouya, hobby loved him last year. Whoo boy. He had a couple good games. His prices started really high. They would spike up. And then last but not least, a personal favorite of mine, and he actually could probably sneak back onto this list. That's Darius Baisley. The Thunder are like the poster child for this list. The Thunder and the Rockets this year. They are the poster child for this list. It's that type of team. These young, not necessarily top picks. Like, I don't think you could be a lottery pick or a super like top 5 pick to kind of qualify for this. So let's run down this year's candidates. And this is an ever evolving list, but this is my list prior to the season starting. First up, Terrence Mann. I don't really care necessarily for the prices of these guys, what they're going for. Terrence Mann filled in last year for Leonard in the Clippers playoff games, balled out a couple games. Prices went insane, and then very quickly came back to earth just for the hell of it. Last 30 days, he's actually down 15%. He had an early run-up when Leonard was deemed out for the season, and his stuff's actually pulled back already. His PSA 10 silvers at 170. And there's also rumors circulating that he may not actually start the year. So, but he is one. If he comes out hot, This will be a $350 card. No questions asked. The hobby loves themselves from some Terrence Mann. Most of these guys are from the 2019 class. I have one 2020 class guy on here. I have no one from the 2018 class. They've either graduated, either good or bad. Next up, newest edition. Also kind of tacked on, came out in last year's playoffs. Jordan Poole. Talked about him a bunch the last couple weeks. He is filling in for Klay Thompson, getting tons of pump from Steve Kerr, Steph Curry, the whole 9 yards. Just a ton of pump. He actually has a pretty decent opportunity to do something with his playing time. I don't know necessarily what the full status of Klay Thompson is at this point. I don't even know what the Warriors know. But as of right now, Poole will hold down the starting shooting guard role or 3-spot, kind of depending on how they want to run that lineup. And then once Klay comes back, assuming Klay is starting, Poole's probably going to be their 6th man off the bench. So, whatever that ends up doing for him, I don't know. I can see him potentially losing some value at that point, but we really just don't know. But Jordan Poole, 100% on this list. He's been balling out in preseason games, and his card prices are up a ton. This is the last 30 days. His prices are up 93% from $200 to $400, just like that. I lied. There's actually 8 guys on the list. I forgot one. Up next, Taylon Horton Tucker, THT. Once again, balled out last year's preseason. Got the LeBron pump. LeBron pumped him in the preseason. His card prices went nuts. I sold everything that I had. Literally every Taylon Horton Tucker card I sold like in a weekend at massive profits. Massive profits last year. He actually recently, this just came out today, I believe, got hurt and is going to miss some time to start the season. So I don't know what that'll end up doing for his card prices, but he is on this list. If he gets healthy and gets some playing time, now whether he can get the playing time or not, I don't know. That team's deep. I actually do like Taylon Horton Tucker as a player. I think he's more of a play for next season. I don't know that he's going to get a ton of playing time this year, but I think next season he has a chance to probably establish himself as potentially a starter in that lineup. But Taylon Horton Tucker, 100% poster boy for a hobby darling. Next up, the only 2020 member. And this guy just has a cult following. He's really fun to watch play. Thunder guy, Poku. There's no graded cards in him, so I just put his raw silver 2020 Prism up. Oh, and that's one thing I should note on Taylon Horton Tucker. Does not have a Prism rookie, so you have to look at his optic hollow. He's one of the weird guys that do not have a Prism Silver. So 2020 class, the only member, Poku. Maybe someone else from the 2020 class sneaks on. But anytime this guy does anything, NBA Twitter lights up, hobby Twitter lights up. And I have a feeling now that we have a decent portion of his cards out in the market, he will see run-ups if he does anything at all remotely fun on the court. All right, we're getting into the heavy hitters now. We got 4 to go. Kelton Johnson had massive price spikes last January, February. I made a lot of money off Kelton Johnson on Star Stock on multiple different occasions, and also lost a lot of money on Kelton Johnson on Star Stock because I bought Kelton Johnson extremely high to send in to PSA through Star Stock grading and got a bunch of PSA 9s. So that part did not work out very well at all for me. What are you going to do? But I made a bunch of money flipping Star Stock A's and B's of his silvers and his base even, I think, last year. Spurs guys kind of go next level on these lists. The hobby loves Spurs players. And NBA Twitter loves Spurs players. Anytime they do anything at all, they get a big bounce up. And Kelton Johnson actually has a legit shot to graduate from this list this year. He is a guy that could absolutely graduate from this list into, no, I'm an actual real NBA player. I'm established in the league. I don't belong on this list anymore. He is 100% on the short list to graduate. he's probably the most likely candidate to graduate off this list, actually, in my opinion, and kind of move into the next level. Next up, a personal favorite, Nikhil Alexander Walker. Another guy I've made a lot of money on. I bought a lot of his Silver Prisms raw super cheap last year, or I'm sorry, in 2019 when that product first came out. Anytime he would get on the court, preseason, summer league, late season, garbage time game, dude just gets buckets. He has a chance to start this year. He's gotten a lot of buzz already in the preseason. His stuff's up a pretty decent amount. 100% in the last 90 days. Let me look at the last 30. Down a little bit in the last 30. We had a little bit of a weird spike here. Let's look at the last 60. Just to see. It was a one random outlier sale that happened to be on the 30-day mark. Over the last 60, he's up 25%, $50 increase up to 260 on his PSA 10 Silver Prism. Nah, everybody loves Nah. He gets talked up to death. Just another one of those guys, once again, poster child for this list. We have now the two kings. I am decreeing these as 1 and 1A of the Hobby Darlings list. I said these weren't necessarily in any order, but these two are. And I have a personal favorite that I would put number 1. The internet has another one that they would put number 1. So I'll just put them as 1A and 1B. First up, Kevin Porter Jr., aka Kpj. He was a pet project of mine because he got drafted by the Cavs late in the first round. I was intrigued by the talent that I saw out of him. He would have been, if you listen to anyone that followed a bunch of draft stuff that year, anyone that was heavily involved in that draft from a scouting perspective all said he was a lottery pick, but he was a head case, so it hurt his draft stock. That intrigued me as a Cavs fan, so I bought up a lot of his stuff. I mean, a lot of his stuff. Like, I probably had 20 raw silver rookies of his. I had a bunch of optic stuff. I still have some stuff. I sold a lot of it off. He plays extremely well with the Cavs. Starts off a bench role. Begins to establish himself more and more as kind of like a sixth man. Has a couple big games filling in here and there. Prices spike. And then he turns into a head case. Gets kicked off the team. Prices collapse. At this point in time, I buy more on Star Stock. He gets traded to the Rockets for peanuts, gets on the Rockets, plays a game with their G League team, I think, dominates, gets a little price bump, I buy more. He comes up with the Rockets. The Rockets are god-awful. I knew he was going to get a ton of playing time. And he, I think very early on, had a massive point game, and his prices went nuts. The hobby loves Kpj. His Silver Prism is going for almost $500 now. Last sale was $477 on 10/9. Adores Kpj. He, in my opinion, he is the darling of this list. There's another player involved, and I'm sure pretty much everyone knows who it is at this point in time. Anyone that's watched the channel for a while, he was the guy that I made my first bunch of money on Star Stock. Let's transition over to him. That is one Mr. Bull. I think this is make or break year for Bull. He could graduate off this list in the negative very easily, in my opinion. Poster child for the guy that built my bankroll on Star Stock, did a whole video on it. Back when Star Stock was a very small platform, didn't have very many cards on it. When the NBA came back in the bubble games, they had those practice games. I bought a bunch of Bull. I was watching the game. Bull started playing really well. I bought a bunch of his stuff for 10, 15 cents and was flipping it for $5 to $10 a card at halftime. Was immediately got addicted to Star Stock based off of that alone. But to me, he is the premier poster child for this list. It's him and Kpj. I do think Bull has a legit shot to fall off this list in the negative way as soon as this season. We will see what happens. He's supposed to get playing time finally, and Lord have mercy if he does, what the hobby will do with him. So that's all I have for you guys and girls today. Is there anyone that I missed? Anyone that you think should be on this list that I did not include? Like, comment, subscribe. Hope you guys and girls enjoyed this one. Peace.